Previously, we had about 80 to 90% of our school fees payment being made over the counter. Not forgetting the long queues that parents had to make on our banking halls, and the hours they would spend, and of course looking at the reconciliation, nightmare that would happen during those manual transactions. And in terms of what has changed, right now there is convenience and accessibility brought about by the digital era, whereby our parents and students are able to pay school fees at any place of their convenience, 24 hours, 7 days within the week. It speaks about the time. The time they would spend is now saved for any other businesses, and of course the cost that they would incur in terms of transport, walk to the banking halls. With digital, all that has been saved. So that's what has changed. About 60 to 80% has moved to our digital platforms. That is our internet and mobile banking, to the wallets, and of course USSD as well. Parents and students are able to pay school fees through USSD. We are speaking about financial inclusion here for the parents and students that have future funds. So they are able to pay with USSD. They're also able to pay with our agents. We have a wide agent network as a bank. So about 60 to 80% has moved away in terms of school payments from our branches. As a bank, it's an operational efficiency. And operational efficiency talks about revenue growth. So given that we've moved these school fees payments on our platforms, our branches are spending less, or are spending more on more revenue generating transactions in the branch. And these have been moved to our digital platforms, hence increasing transaction activity. And the transaction activity speaks about revenue on our digital platforms. Yes, we've realized a growth in revenue by moving away these payments to our platforms. For school fees payments, as PostBank, it's free to offer affordable education services. So as a bank, we're also playing a role in ensuring that we foster education growth in our nation. So school fees are free for as long as you're paying it to a known school. All school fees payments are free. But of course, as a bank, as we do move collections, so when these deposits are made, as a bank, of course, there's a benefit that you get by making these collections. The shift towards digital and its benefits are really big. Speaking about the customer of the bank, these are the parents, these are the students. One, they've been able to save. I spoke about the cost they incur in terms of movements to these branches. They've saved all that money given the platforms that we've provided. Secondly, the time that they would spend making money. Some are doing their small businesses, but walking to that time they spend in those long queues has been saved to concentrate on more revenue generating activities. And of course, speaking about, you wouldn't want to forget the convenience and accessibility. It is also important to mention that we've provided 24/7 services. These services are always up 24/7. Maybe apart from the agency, but when you talk about internet banking, when you talk about the wallet, when you talk about mobile banking, at any point in time you can do these payments. Now, talking about the bank, PostBank has, I mentioned about 60 to 80% of these school fees payments are moving to digital platforms. It speaks about the operational efficiency. Okay, by moving these services to our digital platform, we've seen our branches becoming more efficient. Okay, and hence concentrating more time in, I mentioned about other revenue generating tasks. And as a bank, we've seen revenue growth by moving these transactions on our platforms, and of course usability. Okay, while a parent or a student is making school fees payment, there are other additional financial services that they get to see on those platforms. It's not only school fees. So you're availing them other banking services, talking about the underserved. So you're giving them an opportunity to take advantage or leverage on other banking services on these platforms. Yeah. Then of course, in terms of the industry at large, financial inclusion. Okay, our parents who are in deep or hard to reach areas, yes, they might not have these smartphones, but they have the USSD. Okay, provision of USSD, and as PostBank we provide USSD on 2 platforms. We have a USSD for PostBank, and we also have a USSD for the Wendy wallet. So both can be used to pay school fees for your child in any given school. So you're going to find most of those manual tasks that we used to have at the branches have been reduced by over 30 to 50%. So implying that our efficiency has been improved by that percentage that has moved to the digital platforms. It's a trend in the industry. When you look at partnerships that we have had within the school ecosystem and the different integrations that have happened with those partnerships, and it's a shift for the industry and I mean the region at large, whereby more often school fees payments is no longer a nightmare within the industry with those different partnerships. Talking about school pay, PEG pay, sure pay, parents are able to pay school fees with convenience, and hence it's an industry shift when it comes to school payment. So I've been in PostBank for now a year, but of course even before PostBank I've been in banking for quite some time, and I was lucky to come in banking when we were getting into the digital era, but also lucky to mention that I've been part of the manual era, because I had to, I experienced it and now I can speak about it, of course being in both lives. So I'm looking at seamless, they call it on-tap transaction, okay? And here we are talking about things like super apps, whereby you have a fully fledged app where you can complete all your school fees related transactions, not just school fees. But schools have other expenses that students or parents have to pay. Things to do with meals, maybe there are some sports related fees. So I'm looking at a seamless, just on-tap transaction where all those different transaction touch points are embedded in just one solution. Okay. I'm also looking at security. Because when you talk about digitization and you don't mention security, it's just half-baked. Looking at biometrics, authentication on those different apps, and of course, I'm also looking at enhanced partnerships. We are going to see more partnerships in this space that accommodate for any touch point within the school ecosystem. So I'll give an example, just moving out from school fees. Let's say a school wants to make supplies, or rather wants to receive supplies from a certain supplier. Within those different digital platforms, you're able to make those payments in real time, okay? A school is also, let's say, selling off or buying off anything. Within the same platform, you're able to run all those transactions. So, and this will be enabled by the different partners in that space. And these will mostly be technology partners. We are cognizant of the risks, and as a bank, that's why we have fully fledged risk management structures. Speaking to technology, we have, as banks, we have cyber units that oversee the transactions, the activity on these digital platforms, and enhancement, of different mitigating factors or controls within these platforms. So we are aware of the risks, and as a bank, it's our responsibility to ensure that we have those controls on these platforms. We are in the era of artificial intelligence. Okay, we are speaking about AI agents. So, and these things, about 5 years ago, these things were never thought of or were never envisioned to materialize. But I'll tell you, I'm looking at school fees payments by just, getting onto your phone and maybe using some voice recognition, and you just say, pay school fees for Adons for a certain school, and they just mention it and transactions happen. There's what we call contact awareness, whereby I preset my school fees payments for my kids, and they happen without me getting in contact with maybe my gadgets. I preset. And looking at the trends in data, if you look at school fees, it's one of the worries of many parents, okay? And given that we've moved these transactions on our platforms, we're able to see those trends. And you can clearly tell a parent who's struggling, okay? And you can give them financial advice. In terms of saving, if they're not able to save for the future school fees payments, you can give them a school fees loan digitally. So clearly with data and with the different emerging technologies, AI and ML, you would be able to add value to this parent by giving that kind of financial advice, following the trends in how they've been making their transactions on these different farms, which was different 5 years ago, because it was so hard to track those transactions, much as they were made on our systems, but it was hard to generate that data and use it in real time. Now it is possible, and it's going to be even better in the next 5 years. We can assess your affordability. We can also recover. You maintain the entire assessment of credit, recovery and collections on the digital platforms. Speaking about school fees, yes, as a parent, we are seeing all those different transactions, okay? And not just for credit, but we can also give you financial advice. That's what an RM would do. We see you pay your school fees in they call them installments, but we see these other transactions that happen at a period when you've already completed your school fees. We can advise you on the next terms, school fees, advise you on the payments, or we can even give you some kind of interest, to buffer or onto your school fees payment for the next term. I foresee that in the near future, whereby all transactions that happen, whether on certain bank or happen on a certain wallet, be it MTN, be it Wendy, I foresee them being centralized, okay? Talking about the national payment, maybe these are things that are being discussed in those different forums, where you have centralized data, for mostly transactional data, that you can build a profile, of a customer. So I foresee that in the future. And it's already happening, because when you look at the integrations that are happening currently on different wallets, you can see that as a country, or even as an industry, we've already started, the journey. It's not scary. I think it's to the benefit of the customer. I think previously we didn't have that view, and you could find some customers, I'll talk about credit, they're being rejected, maybe they're only basing on the CRB information, maybe even that information they don't have other alternative data that they can use. But with this centralization that I foresee, you have all this other alternative information that you can build the profile of a customer. You're giving this benefit to a customer. They're also safeguarding yourself as a bank, because I think for you to make a decision, a credit decision, you have full visibility or full understanding of this customer based on the information that is centralized. Yeah. So it's not a risk, it's not a worry to the customer, it's actually to your benefit. We have a partnership with SchoolPay. SchoolPay is on our Wendy wallet, where parents can pay school fees directly to those schools through our wallet on SchoolPay. We have PegPay as well, where you can still pay school fees for that integration. So within the school ecosystem, those are the two partners that we have. It's not that you choose this or the other, but being a wallet is more of a marketplace. We even call upon any other partners to come and integrate with us. Yeah, so that we provide that service to all without excluding any Ugandan. We enhanced our mobile banking platform just recently. You'll check it out. It's one of the best in the market. Very seamless in terms of identifying what transactions to make. So anyone with a smartphone can use it for any kind of payment. Speaking about the Wendi wallet, it is also very friendly. It's both accessible on your Android, that's your Android phones, and also on your iOS, operating systems, and they are very friendly. So even the USSD, our USSDs, I can mention them. We have a 263, that's for PostBank, and we have a 229 for the Wendi as well. Very seamless, very user-friendly to make transactions. Of course, not have ever thought of it, but we anticipated it. One, you're going to see on the digital platforms a spike in terms of school fees payment around the period where students are going back to school. Also, in the middle of the term, you're going to realize there's going to be need for credit. You see some spike. Right now we are running our digital loans, but you see a spike during school fees time. I mean, when the terms are opening, and you also expect a spike during that middle of the term. My time, I think that's the time they will chase us for school fees. So you're going to see need for credit during around that time. So those insights are important for us as a bank. How? One, during that time, I think your digital platforms have to be up and efficiently running. During a time where there is need for credit, you should be having enough capital to service or to serve these customers. Yeah, so with data, I normally say that with data everything is possible. There are no opinions. It's fact. It's factual. So we are here to see, given our digital product that we've since started on, spikes around middle of the term, but we realized it at the point when first term was starting that there were so many parents requiring school fees to take their kids back to school. So I think Uganda is drafting one for the state to guide the state, but of course as a bank, we are aware of misuse. There could be potential misuse of this data, and I mean, as a bank, there are so many controls that we have to put in place, including the policies, the governing policies, having the structures in place, ensuring that data is protected, getting consent from the customer to use their data for that purpose. And at a point when data is in transit, it is encrypted, that you cannot see that this is Adon's data moving. It's jumbled in a kind of a funny way. So all those controls are in place, and we are aware of the risks of AI. And I think the policy that the state is coming up with, all different players or people who use data will adopt it. But of course, there's a PID policy, personal identification data, that is already in place. It speaks about use of data, personal data mostly. It speaks about protection of this data. Okay, so already the state is aware. It has guided on how we should treat, personal data, mostly personal identification data, things like your name, your phone number, your date of birth. That is already implemented in the bank.